Uh, so hi, Shinade. I'm so happy you joining us here today. We wanted to do it on Facebook Live, but technology defeated us, which actually I think fits in perfectly with what we're going to talk about today. Because I wanted to invite Shinade to come on and talk to us about astrology and what's going on in the stars or with the stars right now. Why you might feel like you're going crazy. And what to do about it. So Shinade is my friend. We met a few months ago, and she's actually the first real life astrologer that I met. So I was so excited when we met because I've got interest in astrology, but I don't really understand anything that's going on and really have no in-depth knowledge. So do you want to tell us how you got into the astrology? What clicked you? What put you in there? What attracted you to it? Well, I can't hear you.
Is that better now?
That is better, yeah.
Yeah, okay, it must be my microphone. Can you hear it? Can you still hear it?
I can hear you just better, yeah.
Hear it better, right? I'll hold it up towards my mouth because I've got my headphones on.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a real honour and pleasure to come on and talk to you about astrology, one of my favourite nerdy subjects, which I've always been interested in, let's say, thinking outside the box. And I guess this is a tool, astrology is a tool which helps us understand the non-physical world that we're living in from outside of us, and also our inner non-physical world as well. And I have always been interested in stuff like this from an early age, but in the year 2000 I was coming to the end of what I call my big career job, which was in the travel industry, and I was really young to have a very responsible position, and I found that I was really stressed, and I gave it up because life's not about being stressed at all. And I can't even remember how I crossed paths with an astrologer. I was living in the Costa del Sol near Malaga at the time, and she, for some reason, I decided to get an astrology reading done, and a really proper professional one. And yeah, it was just unbelievable what I was told about myself, my situation, past, present, and potential future, that I thought, wow, there's something in this. And then I had another reading, and then from then on I just started to, what I say is, informally study astrology myself, notice the moon cycles, notice my own, get to know my own blueprint chart, and recognize different signs and different traits of different signs within myself, because we're more than just a sun sign. Most people think astrology is just, for example, if you were born at the end of March to nearly the end of April, then you're Aries, so you're like Aries and that's it. Well, no, that's a small portion of who you are. Your birth chart or your astrology chart will show you all the different signs in the zodiac and how they kind of interplay in your non-physical world. So just coming forward, I just kind of got really intrigued, and it became my nerdy subject. And then I took a formal course about 4 years ago with a fantastic astrologer, an Australian, sorry. He lives in America, but he's actually Norwegian. And that's how I got into it. And it just assists. For me, it's like a tool, like brushing my teeth, like reading the news on a level. I don't watch the news, by the way, because it's never very
I'm on it with you, yeah.
And I'm a sensitive person, in that I can feel a lot of stuff going on in a word which is branded about quite a lot now in this kind of the more people wake up, the collective, and we're all affected by what's going on, and especially by the moon, but in the cosmos in general. So yeah, that's how I got into it, and I've stuck with it. Yeah.
And tell us a bit more about the astrology reading, because I take it's not the same as reading your horoscope or your zodiac sign at the back of the magazine once a month, right? It's not quite the same.
It's not quite the same. They're really fun things to do. And don't get me wrong, I don't really read magazines much these days, or even pick up the Metro, that lovely newspaper that you get on the transport. But sometimes if I kind of have a flick and look, and if it feels good, I can admit, oh yeah, that's me. I'm going to take that on. If it's not, no, it's wrong, it's rubbish. But
I remember. I don't know if you ever watched Friends.
Yes, yes.
Phoebe used to read her zodiac sign the day after to see if it was accurate.
So funny. I love the scripts for that, because
yeah,
I mean that's something that I've heard some astrologers say gives astrology a bad name, because I mean, and that's why I didn't really 100% align with astrology before I got this big reading, say back in the year 2000, and moved forward from that point, because I used to think, how can you divide 12 into the population of the world and everybody be the same? And then when I started learning about it and how in depth it goes and how unique it is to each individual person, I realized, I now know why, how it works. And it's not just, but it's fun, you know, the stuff in the newspaper's fun, you know, it can lighten or brighten your day, or almost alert you, you know, because who knows? Yeah. But
so how is the real reading different? What does it involve? Like, what is it?
Right. Well, you have, when you're born, you have kind of, I guess you would say, unique data, which is the time, date and place of your birth. And from those three things, you then can get your own unique astrology chart or blueprint to your non-physical world, which again leads into your physical, and that's from birth onwards. So you've got this kind of like, also it's if anybody is listening at the moment, you might have heard some astrologers referring to it as a snapshot of the skies when you were born. When you take your first breath, that's why you get the time of it. Some people don't know their time, and that's not a big deal, because it's just slightly less accurate, but you can work out more or less, not more or less, but definitely it's still worth doing a reading if you don't know your time. But basically you then have this lovely colourful thing called an astrology chart, which you can move forward with and relate to and get to know over the years. And working with an astrologer, you would you can either have one-off reading, which is beneficial and good if you've got a good memory and you're willing to kind of take it forward yourself, or you can do potentially a few readings over a period of time, or you could do astrology coaching with somebody, or some people schedule in once a month to consult their astrologer, or once a year, or once, like some people do what they call a solar return appointment with their astrologer, where they can have every year on their birthday, because that is exactly what's happening. The sun comes round again. It's a solar return, and check in and get some advice on what's happening and potential advice going forward. So so it's a unique chart which includes every sign in the zodiac, every sign.
Like I can hear people's questions bubbling up, and I know, like, a few years ago I would have the same question, because I would be like listening to you talking about the astrology reading and having it like regularly once a month or consulting it, and I'm like, and I guess it would be the question that comes up for a lot of people, like, how is that different to going and consulting like a fortune teller or a tarot card reader, or like
Well, on a level, because I've got sensitivities which allow me to kind of, I'm trying to think of the right words so it doesn't sound all hocus pocus, but I can tune into somebody. So on a level, I could work with somebody, and I know you coach as well, and you've got the same kind of gift or trait that you can kind of feel into somebody, and you can kind of work with somebody. It's really practical and down to earth and whatever, but then there's a sixth sense which you can kind of develop with anything really, even if you're a manager in a shop, to help your team and make the shop work better, or you're a mum and you've got a family, that you're looking after. You get to know, we've all got, especially females more than males, but don't, sorry males, but males have it too. But yeah, so if you were using so it's kind of, it can be used as an oracle. So you might have heard of that term before. And tarot cards you mentioned is are an oracle as well. The difference between tarot and astrology, a tarot reading and astrology reading, is that it's just two different tried and tested forms of tapping into the non-physicalness of who we are as a human. So the astrology uses the planets, the time, date and place. It's a chart specific to you, and we use that to I guess work with the elements of the earth which are in us, because we are made up of the same fabric, the same structure as the earth. We come from the earth, our physical beings. So astrology uses the different elements in the signs. So that's how you would use astrology to kind of tap into that. Tarot is cards that have been developed, I believe, about 500 or 600 years ago. I mean, I do use tarot as well sometimes, and it's been made up to show the journey of life from the Fool, which represents somebody born with a clean slate, and then going through a learning process right to the end. And you've got all the different cards along the way, and it's different life experiences and different scenarios. So when somebody gets a tarot reading, they're choosing their cards, and then the reader interprets it whatever way they've chosen their cards. Again, it's a skill and a practice that reader, the tarot card reader, like the astrologer, has devoted their time to over a period. So they've got the skill to read that. So
I guess it's like with everything, isn't it? It's like adding another layer to your toolbox to get to know yourself.
That's right.
Better, isn't it? And I guess it's like, especially if you have some, would you say, like, if someone has some patterns that keep repeating in their life and they may not really get why something keeps happening to them, would that be something that be useful to get a reading for?
Absolutely, yes, 100%. It's very practical for that. I'm not interested in really, when I work with people, it's really people that are interested in going deeper into themselves and to crack the code, to hack into their own, let's say, life programs that have been tripping them up over a period of time, or even a situation that somebody may be going through, transiting through. That's an astrology word, when you get a transit of a planet through your chart. So they might be navigating or transiting through a challenging area, or even a happy area. Something that's happened and they want to kind of keep it happy, or they want to, because we all know there are ups and downs in life, and happy turns to sad, turns to happy, turns to joy, turns to, it all kind of goes on. So yeah, it's definitely something that can be used from that point of view.
Cool. So I just wanted to move on a little bit and talk about what's going on with the stars right now, because with my limited knowledge, I know I keep hearing people talking about, like, we just had a full moon on Thursday a few days ago, and I think that was a full moon with the eclipse.
That's right.
And then we have Mercury in retrograde.
Mercury's just gone into Mercury. That's
something else probably going on. So can you, like, in a simple man terms, can you talk to us about what's going on and what does it mean?
Sure. Okay. Well, just to say, first and foremost, there's always stuff going on. It's always stuff going on. But this specific period of time is what's known as the eclipse season. And it started around about the 12th of July and goes on to the end of August, beginning of September. And it's a season where there are lunar eclipses and solar eclipses. And on the full moon that we had, which was actually, I wrote this down here because I thought this is something we might be chatting about. It was exactly full at 9:21 on Friday here in
9:21 in the morning or in the evening?
In the evening, PM. on the 27th of July, and it was at 4 degrees Aquarius. Now that's giving you the kind of technical where it was. Like when you get further down the line and start to understand a bit more the language, because it's a language astrology, you'll know what that means. So, and it was also a solar eclipse, and there was obviously big, it was on the news, wasn't it? It was really, because it's a spectacular event, you know, visually. And that literally means that when there is a solar eclipse, the Earth goes between the sun and the moon. If I can get it, there's some lineup anyway. My mind's gone a bit blank with that at the moment. Which it blocks out the sun, which makes the moon look red. And going back like a few hundreds of years, the ancients would then kind of make it all hocus pocusy and give you all this, and that's still going on with some astrologers and people, you know, kind of giving the hocus pocus around it. But at the same, it's just an event that happens, but it's not just an event, because the same way as the moon has effect on the tides of the seas. I mean, sailors and you know, people use it all the time. Gardeners use the moon cycles on our physical beings, in our bodies. It has the same kind of effect. So when there's such a big gravitational pull with this lineup, and especially a series of lineups, as I said, from the 12th of July, the new moon, to the end of August, it is a kind of a crazy time, in that it kind of stirs things up within ourselves, which stirs things up. Everybody's affected by it. So things that you potentially have been challenged with or wanting to happen start to kind of happen and take shape, and it can feel out of control. You can experience more stress, you can get more worry, but you can also be more happy. You can also, you know, also get something happen that you've wanted to happen. So yeah, it depends on where you're at within your own journey of life, let's say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to ask you to talk to us about the Mercury in retrograde, because it's one of my, like I always say to people, like if things go wrong, it's like, it's probably Mercury in retrograde. Because from my very limited knowledge, again, I kind of get it that when Mercury is in retrograde, it affects things like technology and travel, and it kind of makes you feel a bit crazy. But maybe we should start with actually explaining what retrograde means. I think it means that it goes the other way, right?
That's right.
I'll let you explain it.
Well, it does. Retro means, like, you know, retro is something in the past. Like you could get retro club nights, retro, you know, clothes and stuff. Retrograde means going back. And it's almost a kind of a phenomena that happens from our standpoint on planet Earth. That the planets appear to be going retrograde, and Mercury goes retro 3 times a year, so it happens a lot, you know. But you know, to give a positive slant on it, it gives us, because Mercury is the planet which is associated or connected to the mind and mental activity. So it almost gives us a period of time to take stock on what's happening in our lives. It kind of slows things down on a level from a mental perspective. As far as technology working, people have studied it and watched it over, you know, nerdy people like me going, you know, astrologers going back over decades, and have noticed that things break, stop working, it's the same thing, just kind of trickster type things happen to stuff.
No wonder we couldn't get on Facebook Live.
That's what I was going to say. And some work I was doing, freelance work I do, I'm doing some spreadsheets, and I share a spreadsheet with a group of people, and I've been really challenged with it. And I go in and it's right, and then I go back and it's changed, and it's like, what's happening? So it's these kind of things. But the secret is just to breathe and realize that it's artificial intelligence that we are working with in technology. Yeah. And it makes sense that it's going to things always break down, so I try not to get too panicky about it, but it's a good excuse. It's a good excuse when things aren't. If you can't think of anything else, blame Mercury retrograde or blame the full moon.
So do you know when it's due to finish?
I think it's round about the 19th of August. I haven't written down the exact date, but
Okay.
It's not that. Yeah.
So it's another 2 weeks and a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
is there anything you can recommend people do? I know you mentioned it's time. Mercury retrograde is a really good time to slow down and do you say reassess or review your life? So do you have any particular I don't know, rituals or practices that you do or you share with your clients to survive?
To survive, well, first and foremost, and I'm sure it's the same thing as you do, is just be aware of what's happening. So know where Mercury is in your chart right now. So when in your birth chart, you have it positioned for your whole life. So you have this template, as I said, and then you have what's called transits that go, like, because the planets are always moving, the solar system's always moving. So when Mercury is transiting direct, it will go over various points of your blueprint and activate your chart in certain ways, depending on what house it is. When it's going backwards, when it's in retro, it does, obviously it's the same thing except it's going backwards. So an awareness of where that is in your chart is first and foremost. And you can say, oh, okay, so that's kind of going over my Venus, for example, in my fourth house. So you can kind of have an idea, and even if you're not consulting an astrologer, you can, if you're quick at picking things up, you can get what the language of that means, and you can kind of go, oh wow, that makes sense. That makes sense why I've kind of maybe had an argument with my boyfriend today, or this person that in my work that I feel, because Venus is the ruler of, it's heart energy, it's goddess energy, it's that's why this person in work that I look up to, who's maybe a bit of a mother figure to me, is being a bit moody. So it kind of gives you that, almost gives you an understanding of why people are acting the way maybe you're reacting. So there's that would be one thing. The other thing is something that, you can do all the time anyway, but it's just to breathe and connect with nature and know that the planets and the cycles are part of nature, are part of your world. And this is always going to be happening in life. And when you're feeling your buttons being pressed, or feeling overwhelmed, or feeling things out of control, say this little phrase: this too shall pass. This too shall pass. But as it's passing, as I'm going through what feels like turmoil, which feels like the sky's falling down sometimes, which feels like the end of the world, actually isn't. What is it giving me? What opportunity is it giving me to kind of get to know myself better, as we spoke about at the start?
Yeah.
Communicate differently to somebody that's challenging me, and then going forward have a different connection with this person or this experience with myself. Yeah, things like that.
Yeah. So would you say if people are in a relationship, would you recommend they get the reading for both partners? Would that help?
It's definitely. That's a really cool thing to do. Definitely. You can get there's a composite chart or a synergistic chart, and there's a chart where you can get one chart laid upon another to see where the connections are, or
where you good and when you're gonna drive yourself crazy.
Exactly. Or you can get the two charts side by side and look at them in that way. So that would be something. But I definitely recommend people to get to know themselves first and be empowered that way. And once you do that, and once you understand the different elements of who you are, then you're more let's say, in control of how you respond to somebody's behaviour, and you can do it that way. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of fun things you can do with your.
So if someone, say, might have been interested in astrology for a while, or haven't even thought about it, but just watch this conversation we've been having, and things like, oh, I'm really interested. What would you say is a good place for someone to start learning about astrology? And because, like, I know with astrology, like with a lot of things, for a newbie or for someone coming into it, it can be just so overwhelming, and God forbid you go into the Google black hole.
Yeah.
Like 3 days later you emerge and you're more confused
That's right.
than you were before you even started.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the obvious thing is to go to the Google black hole and YouTube. There's loads of great astrologers on there,
Mm-hmm.
but they're kind of like doing ongoing things. So you just, it's almost like being going into let's say a salsa class in the middle of it, and just expecting to, do salsa, but so I would recommend that you either get a really good astrology book,
Mm-hmm.
and read through that and learn it bit by bit, or I work with people as well and do I can either do a straightforward astrology reading, which part of my readings is I can't not do it without educating people
Mm-hmm.
about things, because I don't like just kind of giving people the facts and then, well, I can't do it that way. I just can't do it that way, because I would explain as I went along what's
Mm-hmm.
what, or do what's the word, a structured, let's say, course over
Mm-hmm.
a period of time on how to learn what the elements are. So just be like going into a virtual class.
So would that be the astrology coaching that you mentioned at the beginning?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
When I first chat to somebody about doing that, it would be complimentary chat where you would
Mm-hmm.
find out what the reasons behind wanting to do the chart, and how deep do you want to go, and then from that a kind of a bespoke tailor-made session package
Mm-hmm.
would be made, or whatever. So the astrology
That's really cool.
Yeah,
that is really cool. I
say there's loads of great astrologers out there, and if anybody just wants kind of some names, there's a guy Kaipacha on YouTube who I really like, but he's really way out, and he's funny. Some people don't like, he's got a really strong American accent, but he's so funny, and he's always he's so wise the way he does it, and
Mm-hmm.
he's always doing it on location. There's another girl called April's Astrology, and she's American as well, but she's moved to Ireland, and she's really good. So there's
Mm-hmm.
different people you can go onto YouTube, and some great books as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sorry, what were we going to say?
No, I was just going to say that I definitely need to get my chart done. I wanted to do it for a couple of years, so I think the time is coming.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, even though I'm into stuff outside the box and always have been, I'm a very practical, down to earth. I mean, I was born in Glasgow, and I can't do anything that doesn't make sense. So this makes sense. It's like beyond the norm, but it's very grounded and down to earth because it's nature. It's the world we live in. So I would definitely recommend it as a tool. Definitely.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's why I wanted to bring you on and introduce you to people, because I think that's probably one of the reasons we actually get on, because you are very down to earth and very practical. Because I know I followed or came across different people on the internet, and people can get sort of a little bit away with the fairies.
Yeah,
and I know there's a time and place for that. I'm not knocking it by any means, but like for me, I do believe in the greater force than us.
That's right.
But I like the practical, what's the word? The practical application of it. So I really do appreciate you taking time to chat to us today.
Definitely, I love it. Yeah.
If people want to find you, connect with you, where can they go to? Do you have a website? Do you have a place people can find you? Or
well, at the moment I have my yoga and coaching website going. That's sjgyoga.co.uk, because yoga and astrology fit in together. As you know, I'm a yoga teacher as well, and they go really well together. So people can contact me through that. I don't advertise my astrology on there. It's very what's the word? I'm quite selective about who I talk to about, and I mean that sounds a bit up myself, but or they can contact me via my Facebook profile here. I'm sure
Cool.
I think
I will post all the links in the thing.
Or
But
via you as well. You can do that. So yeah, but it was lovely chatting to you today. I hope it's been helpful.
Oh, it's been definitely helpful for me, so I hope it was helpful for other people. And if anyone has any questions, you can post them, and we'll get back and respond and engage to people, and hopefully we can do Facebook Live after Mercury goes back the right way again.
That's right. Let's do that after the end of the eclipse season. We should schedule one for then.
So thank you so much for taking time to chat to us tonight, and I talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye. Have a